Okay, welcome to the Ring Project for 2022. This is an introductory video on how to do a basic revolved extrusion in SolidWorks. So first thing we're going to have to do is make sure SolidWorks has been loaded on your screen from the home screen. When the home screen is not here, we go up here to the home button and click the home button. We're going to select part and allow the work zone to load up, which can take up to a minute. So our work zone is now set. First thing we're going to do is we're going to change our measurement scale. Down here, we're going to verify that you are on MMGS. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and open up our sketch. We're only going to do one sketch, and we're going to do one extrusion. So we're going to go ahead and select the front plane for our sketch. Go up here to Sketch. We're going to click the Sketch button to activate the plane, and we are now in a sketch. First thing we need to do is we need to create our X and Y axis using the center line. So we'll come up here and click the drop down on the line tool and click center line. As you can see, it says for construction, so they're going to be used as references. They're not actually going to be part of the actual extrusion. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click over here. We're going to leave these undefined. Okay, now when I mouse, the tool is trying to create the second line from the second endpoint. To stop this particular thing from happening, which is called the chain, I'm going to right click on my mouse and click End Chain. The tool is still active, as you can see up here. Come over here to the origin point, which is the orange point here that leads up the y-axis. Click on the origin point and draw my y-axis up to a length greater than 30 millimeters. That's 41.5. Good enough. To turn the tool off, I can do a number of things. I can go ahead and click Select, right click and select, or I can click Escape on the keyboard. Okay, now I've got my X and Y axis set. I'm going to zoom in. I can adjust my mouse and the zoom at the same time. Now to zoom in, I'm going to use my mouse wheel on the mouse and pull towards me. So I've got this nice little work zone. It's a little easy to work with. Okay, I need to draw a rectangle right here with the center point on the Y axis. So I'm going to come up here to my rectangle tool. I'm going to go to the drop down just to the right and make sure that center rectangle has been chosen. You could use corner rectangle, but then you're going to have to do some extra measurements using Smart Dimension, and that frankly takes too much work. Come over here. I'm going to touch the y-axis. I do not want to drop it on the center point if it happens to show up. So we're going to click it right there and draw out a rectangle. Size is not important. Shape is not important. The fact that it is a rectangle is important. I'm going to click the check button over here, which is another way of shutting the tool off. It could be really far away from the x-axis. It could be really close. It doesn't matter as long as the center point is on the y-axis and your rectangle is above the x-axis. It has to be in this zone here. Okay, we're going to assign some dimensions to this rectangle to start off with. We're going to go to Smart Dimension. Some people like to just click on the line and adjust it in Property Managers. The only reason you don't want to do that is that will leave it undefined, even though we did give it an actual measurement. The difference between a line that is undefined and one that is defined is the color. When it's undefined, it's blue, which means we can still move it. And if we go ahead and click on the line, let me show you what I'm talking about. If we click on this line here, we can come over here and we can set 3 millimeters, not a problem. As you can see, the line is still blue. That's supposed to be 3. I can still grab this point right here and I can move it. As you can see, it's no longer 3. So I'm going to come over here to Smart Dimension. We're going to lock that 3 in place. There. I'm also going to do the same thing with the top and make it 8. And click out of dimension. Okay, so now we have our rectangle complete as far as the up, down, left, right dimensions. Now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and establish our radius right here, because we're going to be using this as our axis of rotation. So this little thing's going to get spun around in the circle, kind of like a bicycle wheel. Now, in order for this to work, you're going to have to take the measurement using a caliper of the second knuckle of the finger this ring is going to go on. In my case, that is going to be 20.9 millimeters, and that's a diameter. And this is supposed to be radius. So automatically, I'm going to have some division. So typically, we would take 20.9 and divide by 2. However, we're also going to 3D print this, and the plastic that we have has a tendency to expand. So it's going to make the hole smaller. So we have an adjustment that we're going to be doing. So instead of us sitting here calculating on a calculator how to do this, we're going to have Smart Dimension do the algebraic expression for us. I'm going to come up here to Smart Dimension. I'm going to click on the x-axis. We're going to click on the bottom of the rectangle and drop this number right here. Now, right here, we're going to start writing our algebraic expression, and we have to follow the order of operations. So I'm going to have to use a parenthesis. So I'm going to go to my keyboard. I'm going to hit Shift 9, which is the open parenthesis. I'm going to put in the measurement that I took of my knuckle. We're going to add the expansion rate, which is an estimated number. We got this number from another class where we took several different measurements and we came up with an average of 1.2. We're going to go to close parenthesis, which is a Shift 0. So it's going to add those two numbers first. We're going to go to the slash button, which on the number keypad should be above 8. That's the divide by button. And then we're going to divide by 2 because radius is half of our diameter. And when I either click enter or click the checkbox, it will calculate it for me and give me the radius at 11.05 millimeters. So now that I've got all the measurements taken care of, I'm going to click out of Smart Dimension. As you can see, everything now is black. That line is black, that line is black, that line is black, and that line is black, which means all these dimensions are now fully defined. You can also look at the lower right-hand part of your screen and see that it's fully defined. This needs to say either fully defined or underdefined. SolidWorks is pretty chill with that. If it's overdefined, you'll have some warning lights down here, and every time you try to do something, it's going to remind you that it's overdefined and you're going to have to fix it. Okay. So now that we have this ring, if we can actually go ahead and do the rotational extrusion now. But you got to keep in mind your finger is right in this zone right here. You can kind of look at this as the middle of your finger bone. And there's the top of your finger bone and then the rest of your skin. And you got a sharp corner right here that's right next to your skin. And it's going to be very, very uncomfortable. So what we are going to do is that we're going to round over these corners. So we're going to select something called Sketch Fillet from the Sketch tab. Click on that, and we have a series of entities that we are going to fillet. It's going to be the round over. It's not fillet. Fillet is F-I-L-E-T. This is fillet. So right here is the 10 millimeter radius. We're going to change it to 1 millimeter and hit the enter button on the keyboard. Come over to our ring, and we want the two bottom corners. So I'm going to actually click on, or not really click on, I'm going to mouse over the vertex point, which gives me the angle automatically. Now I could go ahead and select this here and this here, and it'll still do this after I do the 2 clicks. But if I have a vertex point, that's much easier to work with. So right now in orange, it's giving me a preview of what it's going to look like. If I am satisfied, which I am, I'm going to click the vertex point and it turns yellow and it adds it over here to the list. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So right now, this is what it's going to look like. All I have to do to finish the operation is click the green check button. Now, it wants to do another one, so we're not going to do another one. So we're going to go ahead and click out of the Sketch Fillet operation. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add a custom chamfer. Now, a chamfer is a lot like a fillet, except it's a flat edge, and we're going to add it right here on this corner. But we're not going to do a 45 degree. We're going to do a 120 degree custom chamfer. We're going to do it to this side, and we're going to do it to this side. So what I'm going to do to make my life a little easier is I'm going to zoom in on this left side, because this is where I'm going to be doing all the work. Okay, to draw my custom chamfer, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to select the line tool. This is going to be a solid border line. As you can see right here, for construction is not selected. So when I drop it, it's going to be blue. I'm going to mouse over here to this line segment. And when I mouse and hold on it, the midpoint is going to pop up. I want to click on that midpoint. That way I don't have to do any measuring because I want it from a millimeter down from here down to here. So if I click on the midpoint, it's going to give me that millimeter. You're thinking, oh, wait a minute, it says 3 over here to the left. Well, it does. However, we just took a millimeter off of that straight edge for the fillet down below, so it makes that segment only 2 millimeters. It also locks that end in, so no matter what, it's going to stay right there, which is exactly where I want it. Once I draw this line, I'm going to come up here to the top line, anywhere along here. It can be here or here, it doesn't matter where, and click to make the line. Again, this is trying to do a chain thing. I don't need this tool, so I'm going to right-click and select. I can also hit Escape on the keyboard. Okay, so now I got this blue line. I need the angle from here over to here at 120 degrees. So I'm going to have to go to Smart Dimension. This is going to be a little odd, so be ready for it. I'm going to click on the line I just drew. Now it's automatic. When I pull it away, it's automatically going to try and give it a measurement for it, which is normal. If I rotate my mouse down, it's going to try and give it a measurement that way. I don't want that either. I want this side of the angle and I want this side of the angle, just kind of like a protractor that we used in math class in elementary and middle school. And I'll click on that side and then it gives me the actual angle measurement. Now, depending on what angle I want is where I'm going to drop this. I want the angle right here. There are many angles on this. There's an angle there. There's an angle there. There's the invisible angle there, and then there's the angle here. I want this one. So I'm going to drop it right there. We'll set that to 120 degrees. As you can see, this point slid over to the right, making this a hole, actually dropping this line. Okay, I'm going to get out of Smart Dimension. Now what I need to do is I need to do it to the other side. I don't know about you. I'm lazy. I don't want to have to go through all that again. And we do have a tool that will help us out. It's called Mirror Entities. And as you can see from that pop-up, we're going to have a set of entities that we can mirror across the line. So we're going to do exactly what you just saw. Okay, so when we click on Mirror Entities, it says Mirror up here. It's got 2 boxes, and of course we are going to do a copy. So it's asking us, what do we want to mirror? I can put any list of stuff in here that I want, and there's only one line that I want for this operation, and it's that line. So it turns blue, lists it over here, and that's all I want to mirror. Now I need to select my mirror. Okay, we're doing a reflection, by the way. This is what we learned about in middle school. So in order to do the reflection, I need to select the actual axis. Everybody was asking, why do we need the y-axis? Well, there it is. Now, with the axis selected, and we haven't closed the tool yet, we haven't completed the operation, it gives us a highlight of where it's supposed to go. And since we are actually in contact with those 2 sides, it is perfect. Again, this is another reason we selected the center rectangle. When we set our 8 millimeter width right here, it automatically put 4 on this side and 4 on this side, making this a complete reflection. I'm going to go ahead and click the check button. And there is our mirror. Now we have a slight problem. If we go to features and try to do any type of an extrusion, we are going to get an error code because we have boundary lines these are actually called object lines. We have boundary lines up here that are fighting each other. SolidWorks doesn't know if the extrusion is supposed to stop here or at the corner. So if we try to do an extrusion, it's going to give us a warning saying, hey, you need to select an end over here. Either it's this one or these 2. Same thing over here. What do you want me to do? So we got to get rid of these corners. So what we are going to do is we're going to come up here to a fancy tool called Trim Entities. Trim Entities is SolidWorks' fancy term for eraser. As you can see right there in the little animation, we can get rid of lines. There's a lot of different ways we can get rid of lines. What we are going to select is we're going to select Trim to Closest. That way we can specifically select a line or an angle or anything else between 2 points. So here we have a little line segment, and you can see it's starting to highlight. It's going to cut it between this point and this point. So I'm going to mouse over the line and just simply click. Sometimes we do get the errors that says, hey, it's part of a measurement. Do you still want to continue trimming? We're going to say yes. As you can see, we are now underdefined because now we have some lines that don't have a length. I'm going to go ahead and click this one. What I do over here, I have to do over here. Sometimes we get the error over here that we just got. Sometimes we don't. This time we didn't. Okay, so now we have a fully drawn out profile for our ring. We are underdefined. That's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with it as long as we're not over-defined. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the entire drawing. And that is what the drawing is. We only got a couple more mouse clicks and we'll be done. We're going to click Features and we're going to select Revolved Boss Base. And this is going to give us an actual revolved extrusion, as you can see how that worked in that little animation. Okay, so in this particular window right here, over here in the Properties Manager, I'm going to make sure that Direction 1 says blind and it's set 360 degrees. Now, the definition of a blind extrusion is that the user, that's us, gets to set the direction. In this case, we're going backwards. And we get to set how far. In this case, 360 degrees. This right here is looking for our axis of revolution, what I like to call my axis of rotation. What are we going to spin on? Any line will do, but only one will give us a ring with a big hole in the middle, and that's the x-axis. But I could pick this line, 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 I could pick this line. As long as there's no collision in the border lines when it spins, it will do the rotational extrusion. I'm going to click this one, and if everything works out, cross your fingers, it'll give us a yellow pathway as to where it's going. And here we go. Yep, there it is. We have an extrusion without any collisions. I'm going to zoom out so you can see it. I'm going to press my mouse roller button and rotate so you can see it really good. And I'm going to go ahead and click the green check button. And our ring is now complete. You'll need to go to File, Save As, call this file the ring, and save it to your thumb drive. And that concludes our tutorial video on the ring.